I kind of want to go over call reluctance, and then because we've been talking over the last few weeks about getting leads in, and what do we do with the leads. Uh, so kind of want to go over that. I really want to hear from you about why you have call reluctance, and because it's a real thing with all of us, and 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 actually going to tell you a story Saturday, um, and actually we'll go back to our KV core work even. So I'll start with that, but so on Saturday, I got these lead sources out there that I've been on forever. Sometimes I get one, sometimes I get a year, maybe. Well, one came in, it was just an email, text, hey, you've got a seller lead. I didn't think anything about it, and I was doing some other stuff, and I got thinking, I said, I'm getting ready to talk about call reluctance. And here I am reluctantly not wanting to call this lead. So I said, I'm going to do it. So I called this lead and answered. That's what we all have. So I did leave a message. Uh, just said, hey, you wanted to, you were interested in finding basically how much equity you had in your home and look at possibly selling your home. And I'd love to help you with that and spend some time going over that with you. Just please give me a call back. Well, I had the person's address and I had their email and I had their phone number, and they're in Columbia. So after I got off the phone, I went in and did a pitch sheet. Just done doing the pitch sheets in KV Core. And I actually emailed that pitch sheet to her and said, hey, just want to let you know, just preliminary, just in our database alone, this is what we have. Within 10 minutes, the girl called me about selling her home. So I got a listing appointment because one, I got over the call reluctance. Two, I used that pitch sheet. I don't think she would have called me if I would have sent a pitch sheet, because every question she had was about that pitch sheet. And it was, okay, so you actually got 22 people in y'all's database. And I explained it to her, went over the pitch sheet with her, uh, where these people are, where these 22 people are in the journey of buying a home. I don't know for sure. These are not my leads, these are my clients. These are actually, we have, all the agents in the office put these people in our system, part of the database. So anyway, make a long story short, the I believe is what got her from behind the computer. We always talk about that, and we got the phone call. So as we look at call reluctance, you got to remember about the buyer journey. People have, whether they signed up because they had a need or they recognize need, or they're window shopping. We've got to talk to them to qualify them. It's easy to text. We all text them. We think we followed up, and we got and if they're not answering the phone, obviously text is the next thing. I mean, and video and emails. But what makes us so called reluctant is one, I think we're scared to make the call. Two, I think it's a lot of it's because we are good at conversing with people and we hate rejection. So if I give you a lead right now and I introduce you to them, this is why Op City works so well. They're introduced to you via the phone right off the bat, and you're talking, and you do well with them, and they convert well. But we think that we're going to be rejected, and we don't like rejection. But yet these people have signed up for something, and you can start off the conversation with, "Are you just window shopping?" Fine if they're just window. And say, "Well, great, my website's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Enjoy your window shopping." So, and if you think about it, even if they do reject you, don't want to talk to you, is it really going to matter in 24 hours to you? we think that, are you really going to think about that tomorrow or in a week from now? Oh man, these people rejected me. I mean, it's going to go out of your mind. These people don't know you. So when we call, quit looking at it as a sales call. Okay. I think that's part of it because we all hate sales calls when we get them. And if we look at it as a serve and have a service based mindset when we call them, you can't serve them if you don't know what they need or want. Just because they signed up for it, whether it's a particular property or whether it's a home valuation or whatever it is, you can't until I talk to them. I can't really serve them. I can't. We don't know exactly what they want. We got it. We talked about qualifying them last week and trying to figure out where they're at in that buyer's journey. So I want to hear from you what what makes you so reluctant to call? We all have it, and but what makes y'all so? I mean, and maybe you don't. I don't know, but I think we all have reluctancy somewhere. We do the text like that, and that's easy because if they don't answer, they didn't reject us. That's how we look at it. But why do you give me some reasons why you guys don't make the phone call?
One of the biggest things, I don't want to sound sales.
What?
I don't want to sound salesy to people. Like I'm trying to sell them something or I'm just trying to earn money off of them.
Okay. Anybody else?
For me, Rick, sometimes I don't know what to say, right? So there's, what are the words or, why am I calling them depending on what it is?
Right. So we don't want to be salesy and we don't know what to say.
I used to have a fear of calling, but
So
now it's just second nature. It just because I mean the worst they're gonna say is, "Hey, don't call me again," or "No."
right. So CRISPR is interesting because they actually, when I was preparing for this, I think it's Daryl Hardy was who I was looking at. Anyway, he quoted a study of military guys who had been to places like Afghanistan and these other places that have been in combat. And when they got out of combat and they were kind of getting into their retirement role in the military, a lot of them went to recruit, and over half of them would rather be in combat than make the call to a high schooler about joining. So to me, that's pretty real. You're okay going into combat, but you're not okay making a phone call to a high schooler about joining the Marines or the Army or whatever. So I think fear is a big part of it. But have you ever thought, why are we fearful? I mean, why? I mean, you said it. The more calls you make, the fear goes away. I mean, that routine and doing it over and over again. Because at the end of the day, let's rationalize. What's the worst thing they're going to tell you? Please don't call me again. Okay, but and then not knowing what to say, Corinne. I think that's where the script come in, because I think every one of us as agents do very well once they start talking about the problem that you're there to serve them with. And so that's where scripts help. I hate, scripts. You can be too scripty. It's not that that's a word, but we can get too scripty and sound like we're just reading the script. Not careful. But what if we just learned and memorized how we're going to come in on the first conversation so that we're practicing over and over and over again? Because that's what starts the conversation. Once the conversation started, I don't doubt that all of you all do very well. So and then salesy, I think we touched on that, Angie, and I think that's the having that service based mindset when we come into it. They have raised their hand in the form of, okay, look at this house. They are, remember we talk about the buyer phases all the time. They're in that first phase, maybe into the second phase where they have realized a problem and they're looking at things. They wanted to see more pictures, or they signed up for some reason. Either they're just window shopping, which is exactly fine. You just say, great, continue to window shop. That's exactly what my website's designed for. Enjoy it, and let them go. And two, they realize there's a problem. They're going to tell you that problem right off the bat. Think of these calls when they sign up on anything like that, where we're getting their information. They're not necessarily cold calls. They gave you their information. It's not like you're doing circle prospecting. You're just calling people out of the blue. And like Ricky Ruth does that all the time. He just calls them out of the blue and starts in. So we're not doing that. They've actually want to talk to you for some reason. So or signed up for some reason. Try to set your mindset at having that first paragraph, or that first, when they answer the phone, set, and I've heard some people use the kind of the reverse psychology. Hey, I know I don't like sales calls, and this is not a sales call, but you had signed up on my, take that argument or that first objection out right away. You signed up on my website, and I just seen if there's anything I can do to help. And when we go with that, they're going to say yes, no. But if you say anything like, like you do when the furniture store, hey, no, we're just looking. But hey, you looked at 123 Oak Street online and signed up to get more information on it. You're doing your job by asking if there's anything else you can do to help them with 123 Oak Street. So
One great question, I think, on something like that is, how long have you been looking?
yep.
Just to open up the conversation a little bit.
Yeah. So and the goal here and the win to me is, did you make the phone call? Okay. It's not that they've agreed to come look at houses with you and get pre-qualified, or but the first goal in this is just making the phone call and picking up the phone and getting over that reluctance. The more we do it, the easier it gets. So once we start the conversation, again, and websites out there, or podcasts. So Ricky Kruth is one. He does live phone calls. You can listen to him and get really good ideas from him. He's all about how can I help. Cash to Call is another podcast. Those guys actually listen to calls and then dissect them and how somebody could have done better. I get a lot of the way and bring that to you the way, just, hey, has anybody taken the time to do something, instead of, hey, can we have a buyer's appointment? Has anybody ever taken the time to sit down with you and go over the home buying process? Has anybody ever taken the time to sit down with you and go over the equity you do have, and what's all involved when we're selling? That is coming to them from a place of service, instead of just saying, hey, I'd like to do a listing presentation, or hey, I'd like to do a buyer's presentation. That's what they are in their raw form. But when we're talking to them, the words we use matters. And so we're coming to them, you got a need, and I want to help you with that need. And we do that. We should be doing that with people, referrals, even if the referral, great. I see the Smiths referred you. I really enjoyed working with the Smiths a couple of years ago, and just need to figure out where you're at in your buying process. Has anybody ever sat down and taken the time to go over this? So even those people. But once the conversation starts, once we've figured out the first thing to say and conversation, we need to listen. Okay. That's where I don't like scripts, because the scripts, yes, there's some exact questions we need to ask to qualify them. And we put that script on, I think last week, is that right, Lisa? The buyer script on the hub, I believe. And you'll see those listed questions. And those are there for reference because those questions have to be asked at some point in the conversation. But we need to listen first. And even if you qualify this person to the point that, hey, I don't want that they're not ready to buy or they're not going to buy, they're just window shopping, you qualified them and that's a win because now we can take them out of our system, follow up and everything. You accomplish something. But we just need to listen, figure out, and be there to help them solve their problem. So, another thing is we got to stop taking stuff personal. Uh, when they do, and if you call, if you're doing any advertising at all, if you're doing any property boost or even on Facebook, you post out, you make that initial phone call. You're going to have people say, I didn't sign up. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Uh, it popped up with this phone number. I will remove you, let them know you're taking them off. But don't take that personally. You probably don't even know these people and never will meet these people. So don't think that stay with you for a long period of time. But one thing I will tell you is the more you do it. So when I did make calls often, it was no big deal. Just like Chris, the more we make the calls, the more we talk to people, the more natural it becomes. So probably only about 10% should be us sitting down and role playing with the call. The rest, 90% should be the phone call and learning, and you're basically learning by doing and do it. So every one of and again, now whether you want to use a Red X or a Vulcan or whatever, where you're getting those lists of people, that's fine. Those are truly cold calls. Um, every one of us at some point, if you're using your database at all, are going to get sign up for something. If you have a listing ever, you should be putting it out there enough that somebody's signing up to see that listing. So we are making, or we will have a list of people that we need to call. So and whoever put take action, you're right. It's just taking the action, taking that step in and setting it aside, and quit making excuses why we're not doing it. So we all sit there, and one thing that also helps me personally is when somebody signs up, KV4 does pretty good about this research person. I mean, it's a little stalky, I guess, but I like to know if I've got any friends. Are they a fan of this? This football team. Are they what is it? Do they like Michigan? Since I see David with a Michigan shirt on, because that conversation can go that way, and that builds that rapport, like we talked about last time. How do we build that rapport? And that's what we're trying to do with that initial conversation. Build a rapport, and then qualify them, figure out what they need, and then know and figure out how we can help instead of sell. We're not selling them. We're here to help. Anybody else got anything on how they have problems with calling, or want to share a call they've made and how it worked? Steve and CJ, I know you guys are pretty good at calls.
Well, like you said, I try to make a common bond with them, trying to find what they're interested in, and just have some kind of common relationship with them.
That southern accent helps, guys.
I don't
I
have
didn't know
that.
I had one.
I can speak onto the other side of like kind of getting over it. My thing is I just had to change my mindset. When you're an agent, if you miss something or if you don't get a deal, you're just like, oh my, that's it. I missed it. I'm not going to have another opportunity or whatever. We really got to change our mindset and just know that how vast, even though there's, I don't know how many agents, I don't even care, that there's so much opportunity. And that today, yeah, I might not have got that one, but tomorrow's another day, this afternoon. It just takes one deal in real estate to change everything. But if you keep the mindset of abundance But there's so much out there, and that's why you're a good agent. And because you're a good agent, people are going to be attracted to you. They're going to like your country accent. They're going to like that you're a wrestler. You know, you just keep that mindset flowing that there's so much out there and that good is going to come to you. Keep a humble heart. It's going to happen.
Just remember, every time we get a deal, now we're building the relationship. Now we're building that person that's going to be an advocate for us, so that one day we're probably not even making calls, at all. Stuff's coming to us. I mean, if we follow the Buffini, the teaching we do in 100 Days of Greatness, our whole goal is to be getting that 100 people in our A database, so that they're referring people back to us. Just a portion.
Hey, Rick, I want to touch on the abundance side of things that CJ was mentioning. We all think there's so many realtors, guys. There's 38,000 realtors in Tennessee, but there's 7 million people. So that's 0.5% of the population is realtors. So it's not really that much.
And if you take out that 38,000, how many
Oh,
really
yeah.
really are realtors? One, and two, how many of those that really are realtors are putting much effort for it all? So
I mean, half of them probably didn't even do a deal in 2023.
the statistics show, and in other words, let me put it this way. Let's say the commission is $10,000, and we were all sitting in a room together, and I had $10,000 cash. And how many of you would make 10 phone calls for that $10,000? I mean, everyone. I would do it all day long. But that's about the ratio. Is 1 out of every 10 phone calls you have a conversation with. But yet we're worried about that. But yet when we see the money sitting there, we're willing to pick up that phone and make it. We don't care about rejection because we see the money. But we got to do it to eventually see that money and make those phone calls. So what if it's one in 50? Would you still make those calls for $10,000? I mean, I would. 50 calls. I mean, so what if it takes you 2 or 3 days to do that? Would you take 49 rejections and one person to talk to that's qualified to go buy a house? Would you make 49 calls and then take the one and go make that commission? I mean, that's what we're looking at, and that's what we're scared to do. But yet that's the reality of it. So, I will put up some things for some conversation starters for buyers and for sellers. And it'll just be a paragraph or two. I'll get those to Lisa, put them on there so that you are real comfortable with making the initial phone call. Okay. The initial phone call, hey, this is Rick Murray with United Real Estate. What do we say next? Once you're comfortable with that, because you should be able to stop. You're going to get one or two things. One, they're going to talk about the problem, or two, they're going to reject you. And when they do that, move on. You qualify. They're not interested. They're not somebody you can work with. Take them out. Okay. Move on. Go to the next one. Hey, this is Rick Murray of United Real Estate. I see that you were looking at 123 Oak Street, and I was calling to see if there's anything I could do to help. Stop talking right there. Let them talk. They'll probably say, no, not really, or whatever, or I'm just looking. Awesome. Are you looking to move in the next 2 to 3 months or 6 to 7 months? What's your time frame? You kind of that, and you keep on going on with conversation. Once we know how to do that, the conversation is going to become pretty natural to the point that we will be asking the qualifying questions. If you don't, I will tell you, 6 years ago we started Grant, when we had a ton of leads we brought over from when we were at Benchmark to United Real Estate, and we had one girl on our team that said, "Hey, I'll call all," and she called all of them, and I can't remember the numbers, but it was over 100, and out of that over 100, somewhere in there, she did 2 deals. And, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Did 2 deals. And there was probably 10 or 15 that bought a house and we never called them, had already bought a house. So we had the leads. We never called them. I mean, obviously we were moving from one to another. I mean, it was crazy, but so there's some true numbers. And these are the same lead quality as you're getting from KB Core, from Bullseye, or whatever. So out of 100, 2 deals, 20, 2% conversion ratio. But the part that bothered me the most, we had 10 or 15 in there that actually went out, hired a realtor, bought a house or sold a house, and we never contacted. So, and it was the phone call, not a text. So again, when we talked about texting, when we talked about hiding behind the computer, that's what texting allows them to do. They can still hide, don't have to answer. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that remembers. You'll remember some of this stuff, and hopefully the play of the week this week is really look at your database. Look at when you text them, they haven't answered, and call. We'll get those scripts up here in the next couple days, and I'm just going to put up the first paragraph. That's all I want you to be comfortable with, because there's a point you've got to stop talking and ask them how you can help, and let them talk so they can tell you what their needs are. And then the conversation becomes natural for you agents, because I know you can handle that. And just like the Op City guys, they it's natural for them because they were introduced in a warm transfer about a specific property, and so that conversation is pretty natural. Well, let's make our other. I mean, you're basically introduced on 123 Oak Street that you ran an ad on. They signed up, and you're just making the effort to see how you can help them, Oak Street or any others. I will tell you this also: when you do that, make sure you know all the properties around that area. If you run if somebody signs up to your website for a house in Columbia, Tennessee, in the $400,000 range, make sure you know the market in Columbia before you talk to them. Okay, make sure you know the neighborhood that they're looking at. Don't come on there and not know anything about it. Know your product, know what you're doing, and know what you're selling. So do a little research before you make the call. Have real track hold up with that in fact, that's one of the things I did when I called when you called me back. I had already researched this this property. It's a newer home, and I already researched. I already knew that there's only one on the market there, and it's a model home, and that there has been no resales. And I knew she lived in the McGinnis plant. And so when I talked that back to her, she was like, wow, this guy knows my market. This guy knows this area. And that was easy. That took me 15 minutes of pulling that stuff up. We have all the tools to do that. So before you make the call with a specific property, know the neighborhood, in that neighborhood, and know that area so you can talk intelligently when. So, anybody got any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just gonna mention, I think personally, I have way more call reluctance when I'm reaching out to people in my database that they're not really currently like thinking of buying or selling. Like in the Buffini class where we're supposed to be reaching out to, our database regularly. Texting and emailing, I feel more comfortable with that. But do you have any conversation starters for people that they're not doing anything in your pay before that triggers any kind of like alert or anything I can ask them that I'm, to help them with?
Okay, so in Buffini, when we talk about that, normally we follow that phone call up after we've already sent them something. So if you sent them a 10 things to get your house ready for the spring, okay, then it's a phone call. Hey, this is Angie. Or since you know them, their sphere of influence. Hey, Mr. and Miss Smith, this is Angie. Just want to let you know I just sent the 10 things to get your house ready for spring. I also want to let you know I got vendors with all those items if you need any of those. How are y'all doing anyway? Or did you get it? And then how you do? And and let the conversation happen. Okay. So that's that initial start. You're following up with something you already sent. So you've got something to say. Okay. You as an agent that just moved from another brokerage to here, that's a conversation. Hey, I just want to let you know, I know you're probably not looking to buy or sell right now. But I just moved to United Real Estate and have a ton more tools to help. So if you know anybody, that'd be great. But I did want to let you know that I've moved in the real estate business. So you're just making an announcement now to them. Okay. So you have a conversation starter, but always think of how, when I call them, what value am I doing, giving? Hey, I'm just reminded, or I just sent you this item of value. Did you get it? Hey, I'm gonna be, I just Thanksgiving time. Hey, I'm gonna be doing pie like Angela does. I'm gonna be doing pie day coming up. Do you prefer chocolate, pecan, or whatever? You know, uh, oh, great. I'm gonna have those ready. If you can, they'll be at our office at United Real Estate, or you can deliver, however you want to do that. But it doesn't have just to be a cold call. If it's an anniversary of a house sale, if you see something on Facebook, they just got back from vacation, went to the Bahamas. Hey guys, I saw you went to the Bahamas. It doesn't always have to be real estate. It may direct that way, and that's fine. But remember, when we talk about the fee, it's always that mayor campaign when we're having that conversation. Maybe, see, y'all got back. That's great. That's awesome. It's a busy time of year for me. How's your work going? You know, bring something about their work so that, kind of use that forward acronym: family, occupation, recreation, and what's it, the desires or whatever.
Dreams.
Dreams, desires. Kind of use that. Always have that in the back of your mind too. You never know where it's gonna take you. Hey, at church yesterday, just talking to a guy. It went to real estate. Now, I mean, he's not looking to buy it, but he has some questions about his neighborhood and what the market, where he's at. Well, hey, let me send you a market report on your neighborhood. You'll get it monthly, and but it'll keep you abreast of everything happening in the neighborhood. So he's getting one. So
I always try to keep in mind, like, be interested in my mind. So I'm always just trying to be interested in the other person and whatever's going on in their life. And then if it leads to real estate, it leads to real estate. Or I look for certain windows in the conversation for something to come up. But just like what Rick said, it's probably that window happened in that conversation for him to where he's like, oh, I have this tool, I have this source that I could provide to them of value, and ask them if you can send it to them.
good question, Angie. Anybody else? So over the next few weeks, I think it'll take a few weeks. One thing that we're seeing, and I'm not going to get into the lawsuit and everything, and we actually have a call today getting some communication and direction. But one thing you keep hearing, and I tell you this too, is hey, as agents, we need to really show our value. But nobody says what the value is. How do we show that? What do we say? What do we do? So I really want to dive into that over the next few weeks. Um, this would be, I think, a good thing if you have other agents that would be interested. I mean, because a lot of agents got a lot of questions right now, and all you keep hearing now more than ever, agents got to show their value. Okay, but nobody's describing and explaining what that value is and how we show it. So I really want to get into that as agents. I want you guys to think of how you offer value. I'm bringing ideas and together as United agents, and well, as the winning playbook agents, I should say United. What are we doing different? How are we better? And how do we really, really, really help the consumer in their real estate transaction? So be thinking of that, thinking of ideas, and we'll dive into that. I think it'll probably take a couple 2-3 weeks to really talk about that and be able to, right, one, show her value. I mean, I believe all of you show your value when you're in the middle of a transaction. Don't get me wrong. But how do we express it from the beginning? How do we express it? And that question is going to come up more and more, I think. You know, we're going to have to, and again, we'll be, as we seek guidance, we'll be looking to bring the information we get to you, and we'll be looking at us as agents, the way we're going to be presenting things and the way we're doing things. So we're going to see a lot of, well, not a lot, but I think we are going to see some changes. We don't know what those changes are, to be exact, yet. So I hope y'all will be here next week. Feel free to invite other agents. Let's and really be part of the discussion on that, because I think everybody can learn what, you know, CJ may do something different than Monica does. Monica may be able to give us the insight of what she did that shows value, and we can all learn from each other and to our customers. Okay. All right. Well, have a good week. Somebody, everybody, at least make one phone call that you're reluctant to make this week and see if it gets into a real estate conversation. Okay. All right. Have a good week.
Have a good week, guys.
Thank you. Bye.